Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new day of Road to TCG World 2019. Moving on with our coverage of the Sun and Moon, the Ultra Prismamon format, I bring you now Malamar. So Malamar is the deck I'm featuring next purely because it has still a lot of support. I feel like some of the best decks, or the decks that will perform the best rather, are those that have targeted search. As I mentioned in the previous video, so Psychic has Mysterious Treasure over there, which can search for specific Pokemon like the Inkase, like the Malamars, even the Ultra Necrozma, but also Giratina, also Gengar and Mimikyu. So it does have a lot of options available, which is really nice. It has that ease of setup, and more importantly, there's no more easy way to just Guzma up the Malamars, which gives you a lot of resilience for the late game, especially. Like, it is harder to set up Malamars, of course, without Nest Balls and without Ultra Balls, but setting one up also means that it will likely stay in play for much longer, so that's really good news, right? So that is why I think this deck will be quite viable. Ultra Necrozma can sit safely on the bench to then eventually Photon Geyser to get a KO on Tag Team GX's. Giratina's Distortion durability is like a damage modifier that a lot of decks are sorely lacking, which is really nice. And it's also a pretty great non-GX attacker as well, with the fact that it keeps coming back, and Shadow Impact dealing 130 damage is pretty powerful. Also has access to a pretty powerful tag team in Mimikyu and Gengar GX. The fact that Zoroark GX rotates does mean that there should be less dark presence overall. I will be covering a dark type toolbox deck in the near future, which obviously will threaten Gengar and Mimikyu GX, but for now, I think as a one-off it's pretty cool. There is also less, or there should be, more accumulating of resources, so a surprise Poltergeist could definitely take someone by surprise, and Sky Scorching Light GX will probably be less used overall, right, in this new meta, which gives, which opens up a lot of potential Whorehouse GX plays. So Gengar and Mimikyu GX are really cool addition to the deck, or a really cool presence in the deck. The overall structure of the deck doesn't really change much. It loses Nest Ball, it loses Ultra Ball. You have to replace those with Communication. You lose Guzma, but you also have the custom catchers rather. And we also have Jirachi to search for different pieces, help us in our setup. We gain Reset Stamp to be able to mess with our opponent's setup, which is really nice. We have the Dene GX as an option to keep finding resources. There's no more recovery without Rescue Stretcher, but like I said, our Malamar should not be going down too easily, especially without Guzma in the current metagame. For Lily, for Cynthia, and 3 Erika, so that we have a lot of draw support options. I chose to play Erikas over Pokegears. Pokegears could definitely replace the Erikas, but I do feel like Erikas has a place in the format, especially where or in a situation where you have one custom catcher, you're looking for the other piece, and you don't want to shuffle your hand back with Cynthia, or you can't really draw too many cards with Lily, so Erikas comes in really handy. Viridian Forest allows us to get energy in the discard pile, but also get the right energy, the right metal energy for the right time. The one card we can't search for is the Beast Energy, so if or when we do find it, it'll be nice to get that bonus 30 damage, though not super necessary. And we have a bunch of switching cards in Switch and Escape Board to make sure that we have the right attacker up in the active attacking, and even if we don't have a free retreater, we can still promote Malamars or Inkase and make sure that we use Psychic Recharge and power up the right Pokemon. So really powerful deck, I believe, for the upcoming rotation. The fact that it relies on regular GXs rather than tag teams does give it a slight edge, because if you manage to stabilize, if you manage to complete your setup with Psychic Recharge Malamars on the bench, you can continually use Photon Geyser, you can continually use Shadow Impact. There might be merit to playing an extra Ultra Necrozma purely because there's no more Rescue Stretcher, so that way you have 3 of them, or access to 3 of them. If one is priced, you still have access to 2, rather than with the 2, if one of them is priced, you can only access 1. So there is merit to that. The Dene I was iffy about as well, mostly because if you get stuck with 2 Malamars in your hand and a Dedenne, and you have to use the Dedenne, then that limits your Malamar usage to 2 throughout the whole game, and you need to find them as well. So the lack of Rescue Stretcher, I think, is the biggest hit for this deck, because it doesn't allow you to play as freely, right, with your discards, with your Dedenne. Obviously, the lack of Guzma does make it so that Sky Scorching, Light plays, and Distortion Door plays are a little bit more difficult, but the Jirachi using Stellar Wish every other turn or every turn sure allow us in helping our setup, helping us find the pair of custom catchers so that we can use the 2 costs that we want to during any given turn. I can't mention enough the potential power of Poltergeist by Mimikyu and Gengar. I do feel like with the right timing, you will be able to just surprise someone. You could just end up one-hit KOing a tag team for 2 energies, which would be super cost effective. And then at 240 HP, you are sitting out of range of a Flare Strike. You are pretty well out of range of Full Blitz, though not out of Tack Bolt with 2 Electro Powers. Though, what I found, in the few games that I've played so far, because as I do upload these, I do find myself playing more and more games overall. The multiple Dedenne GXs present in Pigram decks, obviously they're really good, they help accelerate the deck, but if you end up losing a few Electro Powers here and there, or a custom catcher piece, then it really limits the deck's potential output, or potential damage output. So sometimes it's really hard to say whether that early data change is worth it or not, depending on how many resources you end up discarding. So and it applies to this deck as well, right? Where if you lose a few Malamars with data change, you could be in a lot of trouble. So the proper timing of data change, I think, is going to be something that really helps skill, in this deck. Now, the only real new card in this is the Reset Stamp. Nothing else that I found merited being included into this deck. I did go over the translations and the spoilers a few times. If you have any suggestions or any ideas, that could be good. Mew and Mewtwo, right? Mew and Mewtwo GX would be the main inclusion or the main exclusion that you guys can see here. From the deck, I really don't like the Psychic Weakness. The fact that in the mirror match it would be a really big liability for an opposing Giratina to like Distortion Door on it and then hit for a 1-hit KO with Shadow Impact, or do the Shadow Impact, hit for 260, and then next turn go Custom Catcher, Distortion Door, get a knockout, right? The GX attack obviously would help if you manage to heal yourself. So there is merit to it, but I decided to go with Mimikyu and Gengar because it doesn't share the Psychic Weakness. Latios GX is also another card that I felt could be good because it bypasses, or it makes it so that your opponent can't attack you with tag teams, right, with its first attack, and it also uses up your opponent's GX attack as well. However, I'm not so sure it's that good, because there are ways around that sort of effect, and more importantly, there is a new supporter being printed where if Latios really becomes a big threat, then people might just start playing the Channeler supporter, which says remove all effects of attacks from you and your Pokemon. So Channeler is essentially a Pokemon Ranger reprint, and Channeler will allow your Pokemon or your opponent's Pokemon to bypass the Latios GX effect. So I feel like it's a bit gimmicky. I think as long as people are ready for it, it's easy to tech for. So that's why I didn't bother including it. But those are the few cards, the few newer cards that could also make their way into a list, and I did want to mention them. But yeah, other than that, it's good old Malamar, a little bit less turbo in the sense that it loses the Nest Balls and Ultra Balls, but it should still play out the same. It should still be a very reliable deck. A deck that, even though it doesn't have a really big advantage against any deck, it also doesn't have a big disadvantage against any deck. So it can go toe to toe against the big tag teams. And yeah, guys, that will be all for our next deck. Tomorrow we will be featuring a Buzzwole Pheromosa deck, so look forward to that, and I hope to catch you guys in our next video. Don't forget to leave a like, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.